Dun, 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 dun. Ladies and gentlemen, hello everyone. Hi Lucy, Martine, bonjour. Ça fait plaisir. Robert, how are you, buddy? Hey Marlene, nice to see you here. Anna Marie, hey, so nice to have a good crowd coming on board. Hi Sarah, nice to see you. Oki, absolutely, my friend. So lovely to see you. Nice to see you. And well, I missed you too, pal. I hope everything's all good. We have a surprisingly spectacular day out here. So I am looking so forward to offering this tour. They've been forecasting rain, which we need, but I just thought it wasn't going to be a great day up here at the ice. Well, it's never not a bad day, but it's just so fantastic. But now it is just fantastic. Hi, Casey. Is Diane here? And indeed, I already see lots of happy birthdays going along. So it is our dear friend Ruth's birthday over there in Israel. So happy birthday to you, our beloved Ruth. I hope you've been had a day because it's quite late for you. So I hope you've had a day with family and grandkids and loving husband. Salut, Cathy. So I know you're waiting, Ruth. Sorry, there's some noisy motorbikes. But I know you're waiting, excuse me. Jean de pays, c'est à ton tour de te laisser parler d'amour. So it's so nice to have you here on your birthday. This is a place I know that you have been to with me on numerous occasions. It is a pretty spectacular place to be. So I would like to do a little bit of a welcome. It's not terribly windy today, but I want to give everyone a heads up that here at the Columbia Icefields, glaciers create their own wind. It's called a katabatic wind, and it's a pressure that comes down, ICC, and it forces the wind out, so the wind can come up at any time. It is so warm. I almost just was wearing my t-shirt. I thought I'll bring the fleece, but it is really warm at the moment. Now we're, of course, uh, early middle of June, I guess. So, uh, so it's warmer than normal. We're getting a lot of melt. We didn't have a ton of snow last year, so we're going to see very much a summer version of the ice fields. But I'm out behind me is Ripple Pond. Quick hello if anyone hasn't met me before. My name is Patrick Toomey, and I'm a real life guide all over the world, but I live about 2 hours south of here in Banff, from the town of Banff. And of course, if you're on this YouTube channel, then you probably know that. Um, I do. Oh, there's Pam. Hey. So is it wet at Lake Louise? Lovely, Pam. It's so sunny up here. So our friend Pam is on board. I saw her yesterday. It was her birthday the other day. It was Anna Marie's birthday the other day. I'm up here. My tour group are just going up on the ice now. That's why I set this time. So, but Pam, if it's wet down there, first of all, that's good news. But I'm going to make you jealous. But let me just quickly go over the ice fields just for a minute, because once you get the views, you don't need me distracting you from all this. But the Columbia Icefields are the second largest non-polar ice fields in the world. The largest are the Campo de Hielo del Sur in the south of Argentina and Chile, and a very interesting ecosystem happening down there. And there's these, and of course, Greenland is not all Arctic, but it does cross the Arctic. And you have the North Pole and the South Pole. All but I think 6 or 5 glaciers in the world are receding. We cannot do a tour like this or a conversation like this without talking about climate change. So that is a real factor. Hot 87, Cynthia, interestingly enough, is 30 degrees Celsius. And we always consider that an extremely hot day here. But I'm by Ripple Pond, and it's a Ripple Pond because there's almost always a wind here. Although this one's coming down from the north a little bit rather than coming straight off the glacier. Now, the Columbia Icefields have been frozen for about 1.5 million years. So it wasn't just the last ice age, but several ice ages. We're up and we straddle the border between British Columbia and Alberta. But as per my friend Robert saying, okay, I would like to acknowledge that I'm kind of between Treaty 6 and Treaty 7 up here. But this is historically very much the land of the Blackfoot First Nation. Driving south from here for about an hour and 10 minutes, you get to House Pass. And that was a fur trade route, famous with David Thompson. But that was controlled by the Piikani Blackfoot First Nations right out to a place called Rocky Mountain House. So this is Indigenous land. There wouldn't have been a large population hanging out here because the glacier reached that building in 1844. But to explain the ice fields, it's all, well, they say, the example they always give is the Columbia Icefields, about the size of the city of Vancouver. and you have 6 glaciers pouring off in different directions. The main one we'll be looking at, the Athabasca Glacier, is melting into Sunwapta Lake, and that flows north up into, well, Sunwapta, then the Athabasca River past Jasper. We're in Jasper National Park right now, all the way up to the Mackenzie system and out to the Arctic. Out on the other side, it moves down into the Saskatchewan system, and that flows down, of course, right across into the Hudson's Bay, or on the other side, going down into the Columbia system and make its way to the Pacific Ocean. So it's pretty fantastic. Now, I was going to go hiking further up, but there's so many flowers around. But I suppose with no further ado, now this won't be the very, very shot, but you'll see what sort of a day it is. So I'm up by a parking lot here. These buses are driving people up to the snow coaches to go on the tours out to the glacier. But seeing as how it's Ruth's birthday here, I wanted to come and give you some gorgeous little flowers. The paintbrush is also just starting to come out, and I know Casey's here too, and she loves paintbrush. So it's just been springing up. In fact, I'll try and find you some. So all the flowers are starting to come up. The wild roses, and Alberta is wild rose country. The wild roses have just popped in the last few days, and you know what? They are so gorgeous. It just kind of fills you with a sense of love. Oh, here we have some paintbrush. So let me come and just share this with you. It's a huge variety of flowers. Paintbrush, and I think, Pam, you'd agree with me, that's the one that the bears like the taste of the most. So if you see a bear in a whole patch of flowers, they will be eating the paintbrush and reaching around the other flowers. So isn't that just gorgeous to see? Now, the Canadian Rockies, as I'm sure many of you know, were formed as a shallow sea roughly 500 million years ago. And it's pretty easy to see that compressed land. That's great. And that's, of course, the sedimentary rock that is fundamentally limestone, but dolomite limestone. I mean, you can climb into the breakdown of it. But the point is, it's not granite. And so it all comes and pops up out of the ground. And I thought I'd give you just a quick little, and then we'll go and start doing a lot more of the glacier, if that sounds like a plan. So I was just trying to turn you around. So I love telling this story, but as the Pacific plate was thrust under the North American plate, starting about 175 million years ago, and this starts in Iceland, right? I've told this story so often, but if you go to Iceland, you go to Thingvellir, about a half hour from Reykjavik, and you get into this valley where the rocks are pointing east and west, or west and east. Well, that's the Mid-Atlantic Rift opening up. And as Turtle Island in South America, the two Americas are pushing west, Eurasia and Africa going east, the Pacific plate pushes down under the North American plate. Now, this is significant because as it comes down, it has islands out. And those islands come and whack in to the side of what becomes this continent. And so that's where you've got the Columbia Mountains, which are metamorphic, the coastal mountains, right? But as they're pulling along, you see, you can do this as your hands start to get older, you climb a lot. As those are pushing in, the front ranges pop up, and that's the Canadian Rockies right there. Now, I'll put cream on after, I promise. That's the Canadian Rockies. And they pop up out of the ground, and they point from west to east, and it's the old seabed that's brought up. So that's what forms it. But if we were here 75, 85 million years ago, they would have been rounded. And then, of course, the higher elevation, and as the continent moved further north on the planet through plate tectonics, cold, and as it's colder, of course, glaciers form, and that's what turns us into these great wide valleys here. And you really get a sense of it. So water, of course, expands when it freezes, and as it does so, it is amazing the force and the power of water. So one more little view here. Now, there's going to be a bus in a second, but look at that for a gorgeous view. Oh, there's a bus. I don't want to advertise for Brewster, so don't. But have a look at the paintbrush and all the other flowers. And then, of course, the big valley. So the Athabasca Glacier is about 6 kilometers long. Sometimes when you drive up here, people at first go, you can sort of see that they thought it would be more towering around them until you start to get into the whole science of this. That glacier out there is one of 6 coming off the ice field. If you're standing out on it, you're standing on about 100 meters, 300 feet of ice, although you get a kilometer deep up top. And the big sides, the big lateral moraines, also have ice in them. So it's a massive system. But remember, the toe of this glacier in 1844, when there was a surge, is back where the building is there. Up behind us is Wilcox Pass. And then it's been receding since. So you get a sense This is where it was in 1890, for example. Now, the acceleration of the retreat is massive. You see lots of photos that are kind of 100-year-old photos to give you a sense of how it's changed and how far it's moving. Um, it takes me, do I take a picture? I do not, Lucy. There is a way people take excellent screenshots, and maybe someone can help you with that. But people do take wonderful, wonderful images here, so they do come out well. So all of this rocky debris, you see all these one rolling after another? It's funny, on this particular tour I'm doing, I'm heading down towards Yellowstone and everything. You see these same formations where you're in areas where they've been mining for gold, but these are just different terminal moraines as the ice has been receding over time. So different points. Now, I do want to talk, well, I have a lot that I want to share with you, but there's little Sunwapta Lake down there in the distance. Last time I was here, there was still ice on it, and that is now flowing north, say, and make its way eventually to the Arctic, which is pretty fantastic. Yeah, if I stream, just a point about the technical side of this, if I stream on my laptop, I have to stream in Chrome. Here I'm using an add-on called Streamlabs, which works just great when I'm home and causes me nothing but misery when I'm in Europe. So but I expect that's partly my server here. So lots of these rocks that have just been deposited around as the ice is receding. Now Mount Andromeda up there, I have actually climbed that one before. And you go up really early in the morning, climb up, and then you come down. It's a bit softer, and carry an ice pick kind of under your arm in case you ever slip, and you use that as an arête, as a stop. These are not truly erratics, Marlene. So the term erratic, I will be seeing erratics tomorrow as I drive south. There's a beautiful one. I'll be heading down to the very romantic Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. I won't be doing a live stream down there because the reception is so limited, but I do actually have a YouTube video from down there, so I'll have to share that. But what erratics are rocks that have been carried down generally on top of glaciers, and then they get dropped off as the glaciers melt. So those erratics out on the prairies are really kind of fascinating, because down by Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, which from Banff is a good 2.5 hours south, right? So it's a long way driving. So they're not, these aren't erratics around here the same way. So they get dropped off. The ones down there came all the way from the Jasper area. These big chunks of rock here are as much chunks that break off the side of these mountains. And so these things are where, of course, you have the freeze and thaw. The single biggest effect of erosion out in the Rockies now is exactly that, freeze and thaw. And so obviously fall and spring, in the heart of winter, everything's pretty frozen. But then these days where you can get above freezing, starts to melt, the refreezes and expands. That's where those formations happen. So people have driven down to the base there, and it's a good old hike now, up and over the top to get to the toe of the glacier. But because it's such a gorgeous day, I thought I would come back here and give everyone some of these broader views. What did the control freak Pebble say to the glacial boulder? You're too erratic. Oh, Martini. Well, you're not on fire because the ice doesn't burn, but look at all the lovely flowers that are dotting around out here. So I am in Jasper National Park, just a few kilometers north of the boundary at Banff National Park. And Jasper is the largest of the 4 contiguous Rocky Mountain parks here. For my American friends, I always like to mention that you take the Rocky Mountain parks together, and it's about the size of the state of Delaware, to put it kind of in some perspective. Obviously, out here on the ice, it's winter, 365 days, although, gosh, it doesn't feel like it today. You know, I have another kind of ultra-wide camera. Let's try this for a second. That gives you some perspective, but I actually want to try the zoom one. There you go. When I do that, you can see that glaciers flow. Now, needless to say, they flow slowly, but they are receding or melting faster than they're flowing down. But as it's coming off the ice fields, they come over these ridges, that's where the crevasses open up. And that's what's dangerous, of course, about glaciers as well, for all the obvious reasons, you get a light snowfall, covers up the crevasse, and should you step on it, well, that doesn't go so well at all. You know, I'm going to show you something that I've never ever noticed before here. Not sure I want to notice it, but there's actually a little collection of cans right there. And I know nothing as to why they're there. I've never noticed them before, but they've clearly been there for a long, long, long time. So it makes me wonder if that was, makes me wonder why Parks has left that there, that there might be some historical reason for it. Huh. What do you call a deer with no eyes? Well, it's no idea. So the mountain up there to the right, it's Mount Snow Dome. There's also Mount Alberta. But Mount Snow Dome is the tricontinental divide. So water's flowing in all three directions, three different bodies of water, which is pretty incredible. And then up all these wonderful hanging glaciers. And this is a fun story. You might want to try it, but people often ask, I mean, regularly ask, why doesn't all that ice just fall off when it's plastered on the side of a mountain? So, when you're at Lake Louise, you see it. But glaciers melt from the underside generally. If they get really dirty on top, then that is spelling the end of the glacier. And so, if you wanted to try a little experiment, one of the experiments you can do to understand how a glacier stays stuck to the side of a mountain is get a nice old-fashioned whiskey glass, the Waterford crystal one. You put in a couple ice cubes, you pour in some Canadian whiskey. Now, write this down if you need to, but you drink the whiskey, right? You might have to try a couple of times. Then you turn the glass upside down and the ice cubes don't fall out. And that's because they've melted from the underside and it's created this sort of suction. And so that's kind of the formation that allows it to stick on there. That said, way up to the north of us, only an hour north, is Mount Edith Cavell. About 15 years ago, 30 or 40 tons of ice fell off the side of it. So it's not that it stays there forever. These are the trees that I just love to see. What a statement of the tenacity of life. But also, notice that all the branches are growing away. Hi, Amber. Growing away from the glacier. That's that cold katabatic wind. Now, today is not a cold katabatic wind. Today is like, I'm so warm I don't need my fleece on. One day I'll do a tour of the ice fields with you all in my bathing suit. but it is lovely. I usually, of course, when I do a day like today, I'm on the it's a lovely tree, isn't it? But I'm on the Icefields Parkway, right? It was built in the 1930s as a make work project, and why it's considered often, whoever measures these things, one of the 10 most beautiful roads or drives in the world. But coming from the south going north, you follow the Bow River, the same one that comes through Banff and Lake Louise and so forth, all the way up to Bow Lake, fed by no Canadian whiskey. You can try American Scotch whiskey. I'm not sure it'll work though. So you go up to Bow Lake at the Wapta Ice Field and Bow Glacier, and that's the headwaters of that Bow River that sails down through Lake Louise, Banff, Canmore, Calgary, and all the way eventually into the Nelson River and out into Hudson's Bay. You get up over that pass, you drive up to nearly 7,000 feet, over 2,000 meters, and then you descend down the Mestalla River system. Gorgeous trip down, and that leads down and really down. And that leads down then into the North Saskatchewan system, same river that flows through Edmonton and Saskatoon. And then you come up over Sinwapta Pass, and you're here at the ice fields. So you hang out here, and then from the ice fields, you follow the Sinwapta along into the Athabasca, and that leads up into Jasper and La Passe de la Tête Jaune, the Yellowhead Pass, fur trading route going back to about 1811. And I always love when they talk about it being the Yellowhead or La Passe de la Tête Jaune, and that's because the First Nations who traded for the furs saw the blonde-haired people coming, and they called them the Yellowheads. And check out some of these chunks of rock like this. See that? That is where it's separated, because the quartz is the hardest rock, for the most part, that we'll find here in the Rockies. And so these chunks will often be the line that it breaks on. And now it's getting very, very moody up there all of a sudden. I'll be thrilled if I drive south into some rain. And then tomorrow we will be heading south So like I say, I don't know if I can actually put up a tour. I'm going to two of the most beautiful places I know, Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump and Waterton Lakes. But I'll try and do maybe a short video at Waterton. So I have so many reception issues, I don't really want to chance this feed because I know that it doesn't. But it's perfect out here. The clouds are gorgeous, aren't they, Natalie? You're absolutely right. I just curve back for your sake for a moment. So the tower, the broadcasting tower, has only been here, I guess, about 5 years, which is amazing. They turned it off a couple of winters ago, and they turned it back on. But let's go up and see this water coming out through here. So the tours that are going on, they take these buses up top. It's Anna Marie, that's entirely correct. Anna Marie's just saying the whole country needs rain, and absolutely, really what we want is snow. And I know it sounds amazing to say that to people, but if we could have like 2/3 or a meter of snow across the north of our country, it would temper everything down a little bit, because this has been a tough, tough time. And I feel very sorry for our friends and cousins down in those big American cities that are also just getting gassed by these fires. Now look at this water. So this is loaded with rock flour. Right? And I wish you could feel my temperature has just changed. I guess not my personal one, but the temperature has changed. Well, Marlene, yeah, I think that's a big, longer conversation. I don't think it's just Nova Scotia that says that, but just a bit of rain is not enough to put out all these massive fires that we have. But now, this water is carrying ground up mountains. So as these glaciers coming down here, it's so heavy. I mean, hundreds of thousands of tons of ice, right? Roughly 9 feet of snow per 1 inch, 3 meters of snow per 2 centimeters of glacial ice. That's how it packs in so much water. Well, the water gets this lovely, lovely murky color in it, and it's perfectly safe to drink. In fact, I send people up on the tours there with an empty bottle, and if they have access to it, mind you, I say they should purify it with Canadian whiskey, but sorry to put these on for a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cool my hat down. It's literally warm enough out here, which is pretty rare given I am at the end of the day in a glacier, and I can look. There we go. Now these rocks that you get down through here are just so much fun. You know, you can see how geologists just get into all of this as these mountains are grinding up the history of the world when this was the tropics. I remember that. Sorry, I'm thirsty. Really am thirsty too. There. Hi, Deborah. Um, Hughes. Oh, you're from Winnipeg, Deborah. No kidding. Crown Royal, Gimli, Manitoba. In the house. Look at the clouds behind me up there. So let's just curve around here. And let's go on this unstable bridge over troubled waters. Although I don't feel like the waters are that troubled. But all of this water is coming down from under the glacier there. Now this is about as dry. There's very little, few patches of snow around, but not that much. So it's mostly the actual ice you're looking at. Now it is funny because the definition of a glacier is actually really easy. It's permanent snow. But as I was just saying, in a broader sense, glacial ice is such densely packed snow that it really is a different story altogether. You know, I see some beautiful purple flowers. I keep trying to frame. I imagine, Michelle, in Switzerland, but you're probably a lot further into the season than we are, although we had our spring about a month earlier than normal. But I wonder if you're still in beautiful flower season out there. Good old Simon and Garfunkel. Yes, it is. See? Oh, you gotta love Simon and Garfunkel. Have a look at this water coming down here, and this is again a story of erosion, right? This only flows for 4 months or so. You see it comes down and how much it's carved into the land there. And on the left-hand side, it's built up some soil, and that's allowed these trees to take hold. Amber, it is. The ice fields are magical. Some people ask me whether it's ethical to take the tours onto them. And is that right, Michelle? I think it is. You're not doing damage to the ice, really, right? I mean, this slight impact. I mean, we could talk about the vehicles and everything, but the fact that it does make people more aware of our changing climate. And I think, wild places like this need to be accessible to normal people and not just the elite, right? Now look at all this. Looks like beach out here, but it's not. This is all just ground up. That's that same rock flower. That's just ground up mountains. Now look at this tree. This is one of my favorite ones right here. It's not quite the closest one to the ice field, but this fabulous boulder here from the low bushes that take hold. And then boom, a tree comes and gradually, slowly but surely, life comes together. They are stunning views. Look at this, just in the time that we've been wandering around here, how this light has shifted up here. Now, I'm really not in a mad rush today, and it's Ruth's birthday. I'm happy to carry on for a while. And then I'll probably go for a little bit of a jog to maybe up to the toe or so. I always feel this is a great way to get a bit of exercise, and I'm up here at higher elevation. Of course, I'm heading down to Yellowstone Park, where you get even higher again. And I was thrilled. I was Googling the roads because they had big floods there last year, and it looks like all the roads that I want to go on are open, so that's good news. Yeah, let me try and be a little artsy here if I can. So, yeah, look at these. Isn't that gorgeous, everyone? Oops. Right. And it's nice if you can hear some of the wind without it being too aggressive on your ears, because this is super, super easy, warm day here. But it is amazing, in amongst all of these broken up rocks that have been uncovered just in the last 100 years or so, of all this life that takes place. First, the bacteria becomes the lichen, crypto-organic soil, and then the little plants take hold. This is why birds are so important to us, everyone, because they spread so much of this. In fact, perhaps I should tell you about the birds and the bees. We'll save that for a private broadcast on another day. But I also, seeing as how we're talking about birthdays just this week, Pam and Anna Marie and Ruth. Well, Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday, the 14th, is my boy's birthday. I'm going to be away, so we had a big dinner last night, and I gave him a big hug and a kiss and a gift this morning. But so he's going to fin to me, so he is going to have a day with his friends, and then he starts work, and he has exams too, so he's doing lots of cool things. But I will get him on a tour, I promise everyone. More than just a breakfast. We'll go out and do a tour. We'll get him to do one of his. If you're unfamiliar with Finn Toomey, he was a very popular guide on our platform that we had before Hago. He was the youngest guide on the platform. And boy, he started doing virtual tours at 14, and now he's going to be 17. Isn't that something? So here we are, getting up probably about, why don't I give us another one of these close-ups up here? I love doing this. Isn't that spectacular as it fills the whole screen? I will, Amber. I'll probably put up a little video or something. Really much. Sorry, I just found a cool little spider. Spiders are not dangerous here in the Rockies. It's nothing but ran under a rock. So, but Diane, you'll finally get to meet that kid in September. So, as we look here, people walk up and over this ridge down here in the distance, and they go up to the toe of the glacier, although there is still ice under there. Although really, this is fascinating. If you look closely here, some birdies making some noise. That's a lot of rock that's been uncovered. But just beyond the rock, we see that patch of snow. If you were to look at that more closely, you would actually see that under the gravel in the distance is all ice. So I'd love for you to be able to hear these birds. I'm not sure they're going to come through this. Sorry, is it Lisa's? Lisa, is it your birthday today? Well, Lisa, if it's your birthday as well, we always have a tradition. Little French-Canadian song, Jean de Pays, c'est à ton tour de te laisser parler d'amour. Sorry, I lost You do hear them. That is happy birthday in local Sparrow, I'm gonna guess. But happy birthday, Lisa. Jean de Pays, the song is just a lovely tradition where it says, people of the country, it's now your turn to let yourself speak of love. Oh, I think it might be a killdeer, everyone. Let me just try and give this now. Just looking down here. Oh, I just saw a chipmunk running along as well. The birdie just landed. Yeah. You're welcome, Lisa. I'm really thrilled if you're able to hear that sound through my ears. And then we go up to Sunwapta Lake right here. And then you follow the road up here. Hi, John. Up over a hill. And then you come down by the Tangle Falls and you see the Studfield Glacier, which is not attached to the Columbia Icefields, but another massive glacier. And then yeah, it is a killdeer. See them around here every now and then. Now, they might have nests, so I'm not actually going to get closer to them now. And then you come up and you meet the Endless Chain, which is the longest unbroken chain in the Canadian Rockies. And that leads you up towards the whole region around Jasper town site. Look how much now. I always talk about how porous the rock is here. See all this water all coming through? Cynthia, the birdies said hi back. Yeah, they really are. They are flying around, but I think their coloring matches, oddly enough, exactly where they live. But as a consequence, I'm not sure I can really try. We'll try one more zoom and see if the birdies come up. I'll go back to. Come on, take off for us one more time. Oh, did you ever? Yeah, cool. Yeah, they're fabulous. I see them here more than other places. Um, so, mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, yeah, one's walking right along the ground. So right where, there, right in the middle of the screen, pretty much. There's one moving along. Reasonably long legs, kind of a brownish color. Really does look like the texture of the rock there. Tina, did you just ask where's the glacier? You obviously haven't been here for the last half hour because there's the glacier right there. That's the Columbia Icefields right in front of us. In fact, we're already over time here. You did see it, lovely. Isn't that great? Now the sun is so bright here that, yeah, there we come out. We can have a bit of a look around up here. Oh, I think that's interesting. And you get the wider camera actually catches a little bit of the gimbal. But yeah, the birdies is down there. So Mount Alberta and Mount Snow Dome, and then Mount Andromeda, which was clear as can be when we started our walk today. And now the clouds have come over here, and it's really changing the mood and the color of it. It has cooled off a bit, but that makes me happy because, again, we're just so hot once again. And as we know, weather events do not mean climate. However, this shrinking of the glacier is 100% a result, not 100%, but is a hugely contributor to climate change, and that's a reality. Check out this really cool rock right here. And I would love to tell you those are fossils, but I really don't think they are. I just think it's some, goodness me. I'm going to have to take a picture of that myself and unpack that rock. It's pretty fantastic. And of course, so much. Like I say, there's a sign when you go up the other section. Here comes the wind coming back now. That's the katabatic wind. So all of a sudden, the trick at this point for me to turn the camera around, and then you can still have the glacier, but I can get a little protection from the wind. And words. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen, it's so lovely to have you all here. I thought that was a great newsletter that went out from the Guides Collective. I'm obviously doing a little bit less in terms of virtual tours than I normally do, but as many of you know, I'm just so busy. I was home for one day from France, and I'm out with a group. I'm out with a really, really lovely group at the moment, and of course, this is a tour that I love as well. So tomorrow I will be going down to Montana, and that's always fun. Um, and and then I will be going into Browning. So I will try and put on. In fact, I will, whether it's tomorrow night, probably the next morning. I will try and. You're welcome, Lucy. Try and put on a tour in Neil. If it was in the newsletter. If it wasn't on the guide's calendar, then I have to have a word with someone who's meant to put them on the calendars for me. So that's the answer to that. So um, that's interesting. Well, it's nice. Have you, Amber? Well, yes. Hey, Leslie. Nice. Hi there. Well, again, I leave these up. My plan is probably to build up a membership thing on YouTube where people can manage their costs. But obviously, I go out of way to do all of these. There is a link in the description. Some people already, and I want to say a warm thank you, and to people I get some monthly donations. But if I could do something where maybe the repeat of tours are available to members, I think that might be a good way to do it. Isn't it stunning, Sarah? So something along those lines. Oh, that's great you're doing that, Deborah. That's really lovely. Ian is a lovely, lovely, kind, good person as well. So all that noted, say I'm just so busy these days, but I really do try and make time for all of you and to keep all this going for lots of reasons. One, I think there's a big, meaningful community here. I put so much energy into it for 2 years that I don't want to let it go. I do appreciate if you share as many videos as possible and try and get people to sign up. But you're very welcome, Ruth. Happy birthday to you. Um, happy birthdays all around and lots of love. So, first of all, I want to say peace and love. And then, as always, when we're signing off from one of these tours, I always have to leave you with a hook so you come back next time, right? So, here, let's just curve this around for a second so we can have a look up in the valleys. And we look up here. So, the process of signing off it can be quite abrupt after the fact. So, I just want to warn you about that. But you saw that I drank some of the glacial water that was flowing down. In fact, I drank a lot of it. Well, for some men, there can be a very specific reaction from having that glacial water, and it's just starting to happen to me right now. Let me try and show you.